Radha Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Karnikai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanam Tirandasya Jnanam Janakalakkaya Chashurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yugapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagrana Raghunatam Vikantam Sajivam Savaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Varan Samagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamascha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripurye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you so much to everyone for joining on a Sunday morning Srimad Bhagavatam glorification. Is it?
Yeah, it's not.
So maybe we want to increase the volume. Oh, is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought before we start with a new verse, we can just have a quick chat about what have we been discussing. So would someone like to share about what have we been discussing so far? Where are we up to in Canto 10?
We have been discussing about innocence of Vera
Yes.
and how they were liberated.
Yes.
Big thing, I think.
Yes. No, that's true. And who is giving the instructions right now?
Narada.
Yes. And what are we talking about since the past 3-4 days? 3-4 sessions. What's the theme of what Narada is talking about?
Accumulation of wealth.
Perfect. Thank you, Prabhu. You've been listening really attentively. Yes. So we've been talking about poverty-stricken condition and how that is beneficial. And I was listening to a class which spoke about back in 1971 in India when Indira Gandhi was one of the political leaders. She was standing for the elections, and the slogan of that election was, of her campaign was, Garibi Hatao Desh Bachao. So Garibi Hatao Desh Bachao, and she won the elections hands down. It was a massive victory for her, which meant that the political party thinks that the poverty is a very bad state of life. And because they won the elections hands down, it means many people voted for her, which means people also think poverty is a very bad condition of life. Speak to any scholars or researchers or the economist people, they will all talk about how poverty is it's not a favorable condition. It's a condition we don't want to be in. But here we can see Srila Prabhupada talks about poverty and how poverty is good, how it is great for spiritual life. So purport after purport after purport, we can see Narada Muni instructing on how poverty-stricken condition is a very good condition. So this is the irony of the entire story. Right? This is me since the uni days. I used to hear that India is going to be the next superpower. It is the economic superpower. But a little bit of disappointment in that thing is India has about 129 million citizens living in extreme poor conditions. So it's 129 million people. Just to throw out some facts out there about the poverty. These people earn less than rupees 180 a day. So 180 a day you get nothing. So they live in that condition where they'll get rupees 180 a day. So Rowena, for your thing, it's less than.
What's the one?
So it's nearly $3 or less. Nearly $3. They earn that much in a day. Compared to the Australian statistics of poverty line, obviously the cost of living is high in this country, but it is about $1,200 a week. For the poverty line in Australia is $1,200 a week for a family of two, one earning member and one dependent. So in comparison, just putting in context poverty situations. Now Srila Prabhupada tried to preach in India for 40 years. Right? And what happened? At the end, he made one disciple, maybe printed some back to Korean magazines, distributed a few books in 40 years. And he faced a lot of disappointment. Not just from the people around him, from his own family members, but even from Gaudiya Vaishnavas. He faced a lot of disappointment. So then, Srila Prabhupada left the poverty-stricken country and went to a very materially opulent country. One can say, but that was the instruction given to him by his spiritual master. Yes, that's true. But today we will look at this situation from another angle. So Srila Prabhupada left a poverty-stricken country and went to a very materially opulent country. And what he did was he achieved an unprecedented success in that country. Something that has never happened before, something that will never happen again. And that is what Srila Prabhupada can attain in a materially opulent country. So just to put everything in context, how does this work? What happened? Because Srila Prabhupada left a poverty-stricken country to get into a materially opulent country. Srila Prabhupada, so we have to understand that the dynamics of life, the dynamics of these purports, the dynamics of every sentence that we read is not always black and white. We have to understand that Srila Prabhupada was able to transform the hearts, right, of so many people because he was able to understand their condition. He was actually able to culturally understand where they are at. Today we will be looking at a verse in which in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is going to talk about, and he gives an example of how materially rich people have a sign outside their house, beware of dogs. That was not a sign that Indians would put. That was a sign that Americans had used to put. So Srila Prabhupada used to culturally observe, understand and make preaching very, very relevant to people. So even we have to make these purports very, very relevant to us. We cannot give up all the wealth that we have. I don't think any one of us are in a poverty-stricken condition. We can't give up all that wealth just because we read something as black and white. Nothing is black and white. You know, there is a beautiful example that Srila Prabhupada quoted about a Christian missionary. So there was a Christian missionary, he went to a coal mine. If you've heard this, it's a beautiful pastime. He went to a coal mine underground and he wanted to preach about Jesus Christ and how Jesus, loved God and all those things. So he goes there, he goes into a coal mine. Now it's obviously coal mine, just imagine it's going to be a dark situation, it's hot, humid, all the workers are there. He goes and says, if you don't love Jesus Christ or if you don't follow Jesus Christ, you will go to hell. So one of the coal miners said, hell? What does hell look like? So the missionary said, hell, it is very dark in hell. So then the workers were like, it's already dark over here, so what's the difference? It's okay. Then he thought, okay, I have to give another answer. So he said, it's very hot in there, hot and humid in there. So he said, it's hot and humid in here, what's the difference? Then he said, so I'm talking about a time back then, right? Srila Prabhupada's time. Then he said, it's a place where you will find no newspapers. Everyone was like, no newspapers? That must really be hell if there is no newspaper. Had Srila Prabhupada been in today's times, he would have said there will be no Facebook or Instagram. Like, that must really be hell then, if there is nothing like that. And then, so we can see Christian missionary made preaching very relevant. And then coal miners started, taking Jesus Christ's name, because if there is no newspapers, what is life? So similarly, we have to understand when we are preaching to other people, when we are talking about this purpose, we have to put everything in context. We have to make it very, very relevant. Right? That is an important point. So this purport is talking about poverty, but let's not take it black and white. Yesterday or with the youth, we often take youth classes, and when we are discussing sometimes some things with youth, you know how they tend to take things literally? We are studying nectar of instructions. And in nectar of instruction, they'll be like, oh Mataji, then what's the point of studying? This material education doesn't make sense at all. Because no point of studying. What's the point of earning all that money? We have to dedicate our life to Krishna. So in a way, they're correct, right? If we take the purport as it is, they're correct. What's the point of money? If you're poor, you can think more about Krishna, you'll have more time, so what's the point of studying? Just imagine if I preach that to the children. Don't study, all the parents will kick me out of that service immediately. Right? The point is not that. Srila Prabhupada wanted educated people, educated preachers. Srila Prabhupada wants us to preach to the educated masses of the society. Right? So the point is, I'm trying to make is, when we are reading these purports after purports of poverty-stricken conditions, we have to understand Srila Prabhupada is not just talking about the poverty, the material poverty, but he's talking about the poverty line of our hearts. That's what he's talking about. That's how we take it. And that is determined by how Krishna conscious we are. How much are we trying? So as long as we lack purity in our hearts, we are poor. So that is spiritual poverty. When we lack purity in our heart, we all are poor. So we all are in the poverty-stricken conditions of life, which means Krishna consciousness is very favorable. That's the good news for us. Right? So we don't have to equate poverty just with money. That's true at one level, and that's what Narad Muni is also referring to in this by talking about wealth. When someone doesn't have food, when someone doesn't have clothes, yes, that is a miserable condition. But even if you have that, purity of heart is essential. That is not, things won't give us purity of heart. Things won't give us satisfaction, right? A millionaire will always feel poor if he equates himself with a billionaire. So till the time we are comparing ourselves to someone higher than us, we will always be materially poor. And like it is correctly said that we'll never be satisfied with whatever we have in our lives. Isn't that true? So we attain a certain position. Oh, Krishna, please give me that position. I really want to become the vice president of a company. Krishna does, because you want that, Krishna listens to you, become the vice president. 2 months later, you get bored of it, or you want to climb the ladder higher. Now please help me become the president of this company. So we always want more and more and more. We're never satisfied. So if a millionaire compares himself to a billionaire, he is poor. So again, we have to put things in context to understand the poverty-stricken condition. Of course, these purports are not telling us that we should not adequately earn money, because Srila Prabhupada always said that if we are physically doing okay, then spiritually we can grow better. So we have a certain lifestyle we live in. It is okay to maintain that lifestyle. In the name of simple living, we don't have to perform unnecessary austerities. It is not required. We see some swamis, they have a lifestyle, they come from a very different backgrounds, and possibly they won't be able to sleep on the floor. So there's no unnecessary austerity required, because they have a bigger thing to do, bigger mission to accomplish. So those austerities are not required. So let's perform austerities. It's a voluntary austerity that we perform. so that we can grow spiritually. Right? So, and this is, so why are materially rich people, they're not able to grow spiritually sometimes? It's because it's said in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 12, Lobha pravartir aramba karmanam asmaspara rajasi itani jayante vivirde bharata swabha. Which means, as chief of Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, which happens when we are constantly working, we are in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develops. So all these things happen when we are constantly striving to attain more and more materially. That's what happens. So it is the mode of passion. We are in the mode of passion, we are never satisfied. In the mode of goodness, we come to a better condition. We have to obviously go above the mode of goodness. But at least mode of goodness is better, it's favorable. But mode of passion is not favorable. So we have to rise above that. Because what happens is when we are in the mode of passion, we try to live in this world like this world is a permanent place. My Guru Maharaj gives this example of Mr. Bean. Have you heard that, the comedy show, Mr. Bean? He gives that example of Mr. Bean, how Mr. Bean goes to a hotel. He goes to a hotel, he grabs the keys, so he's this nice cartoon funny character, right? He goes to his room. What does he do? He unpacks his bag, he sees the walls, okay. Takes out the photo frame, starts hitting a nail, takes out the hammer, starts hitting the nail on the wall, and then hangs a family photo frame. Looks around on the side table, he's like, okay, I have a vase, I'm going to keep some flowers in there. So he now keeps the flowers in the vase. He also does something with the bathroom door. He tries to fix it, or he attaches a door to the bathroom because that bathroom had no door and things like that. He's there for 2 days. He starts to live like it's a permanent place. Right? When it's not. That's exactly how we live as well. But as devotees, what do we do? I was just thinking about it, just putting it on myself. What do we do when we go to a hotel? We take up a little altar there. Right? We set up our altar. Then quietly we sneak out every morning. We bring some flowers when no one's watching us for our deities. Everyone does that, right? Then we do all of those things quietly. Fragrance is not allowed, incense stick is not allowed. We still always try. Trust me, tell me one person who's not tried that. You're not allowed to do that in their room. Every person tries that until they are caught. They will try that incense because then someone says, I could smell some incense. Have you been burning incense? They will say, right? But as devotees, that's what we do when we go to a hotel room, because that is our eternal position. We try to create Vrindavan in our hotel room. That is our eternal position. Right? Vrindavan is home. So that is the difference between a materialist and a spiritualist. Right? That's where it is different. So the cravings will always be there. They'll always perpetually leave us dissatisfied, no matter how much we try not to be satisfied by the material conditions. So we have to be mindful of that. So we have to transcend beyond this mode of passion, beyond the mode of goodness, into the mode of transcendence. That's where it is. That's where we will find benefit. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "There is enough in this world for everyone." I'll put it like,
everyone's need.
Yes, everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed.
One man's greed.
Yes. One man's greed. Okay. So, but you might say, yeah, but I'm, earning my money honestly. I'm doing everything correctly. I'm offering the food. I've got everything perfectly organized. I'm not cheating. I'm not telling lie to anyone. So it's my money. I'm just organizing it. Yeah, that's true. But then there is Elizabeth Seton who said, we should live simply so that others may simply live. Because when we try to make our lives very opulent, we don't realize it unnecessarily or unknowingly, we are affecting a lot of other classes, a lot of other people around us. We think that we are doing the right thing and everything, but if we introspect and dig in deeper, we'll realize, if we get to the source, a lot of other things are getting affected around us. Hence, it's important to be mindful, to be conscious of the choices we are making. Okay? So, we We need to be spiritually rich. Materially rich or poor doesn't matter, but we need to be spiritually rich. We need to be spiritually empowered. Material empowerment doesn't matter. If it's there, great. Sometimes it helps as well. When a rich person preaches, the person on the other end tends to listen to that person. When a poor man preaches, sometimes the other person is like, he doesn't have himself, he's going to talk about God only because he's not attained anything in his life. So sometimes in that way it helps also. I don't know if that works for everyone, but sometimes it helps. I tune in a mantra meditation program that we run. Sometimes, people, they're up about themselves and they don't want to listen. The moment I say, I've got double master's degree, they will start listening to me because then you are educated materially, because that's the degree they understand. So we have to come down to their levels to make them understand. Right? On the World Educators Day, I was given those flowers. Many students gave me a lot of gifts. They gave me flowers. It was a Friday, a big bouquet. Next day I came and I offered those flowers at the feet of Srila Prabhupada because he is the real educator. We are nothing. Right? So we have to make those connections. I'm not saying I did a great thing, but we have to just apply these things in our real life as well. So what is our position? Our position is of that of a beggar. We all are beggars. So we all are poor spiritually. We are spiritually getting enriched now. But the position that we have is of a beggar. We are nothing. So there was this Sankirtan story that I was reading online. So there was this book distributor who was distributing book, and a man came up to him and said, "You are a beggar. You are nothing but a beggar," because he was begging for giving books away. Please take, and then he was asking. And the instant realization of that devotee was, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has so rightly sent that person in his life at that point in time, because yes, we are beggars. We are begging for the mercy and love of God. That's what we are begging for. So when we are preaching, when we are begging for God, we are begging for mercy. We are begging for love of God. So that's why our position is that of a beggar. Now just imagine this. You are preaching. Say I come to this Prabhu and I tell him, Prabhu, everything that is yours belongs to Krishna. It is not yours. Just donate everything to Krishna. He might not agree to it. He might say yes over here, but he will not agree. He might not agree to it. But if I go up to him and I tell him, Prabhu, I'm a beggar. We're just building this temple, and it would be nice if you can make some donation. We're just, begging for some, money here and there. The general tendency is when someone calls themselves a beggar, you look at that person with compassion and you want to give them something. Right? So our position is that of a beggar. We are standing in front of Krishna like a beggar, asking for that mercy, requesting for that compassion. Krishna is very merciful and we can expect some mercy from Krishna, depending on if he desires to. So we as a beggar stand in front of Krishna and we ask for that. And this month is special, really special as well, where he is distributing it. He comes in control of devotees, like Krishna Prabhu has been mentioning every day. Right? So we convince people as beggars. We are beggars, and because in reality we are servants, right? We are das and das, the servant of the servant of the servant. Right? That's what we are, isn't it? Because we know Krishna is going to provide for everything, but when we are preaching, we preach as beggars. When we are standing in front of Krishna, we stand like that. So I think I've given enough of synopsis. Let's look at today's verse. It's already half past gone. So we are on Canto 10, text. Yes.
Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Jayadharma, he mentions that for ordinary people, if you really want to progress spiritually, you have to be materially also balanced.
Yes. Right.
So material balancing, material facilities are required
Yes.
for most people to progress spiritually.
True. Thank you. So we are on chapter 10. Canto 10, chapter 10, text 17. Daridrasya vayujyante Sadhava Samadarshina Shadbishinotitam Tarsham Tat Arada Vishuddhyati Daridrayeva Yujyante Sadhava Samadarshina Shadbishinotitam Tarsham Tat Arada Vishuddhyati Daridrasyeva Yujyante Sadhava Samadarshina Shadbishinotitam Tarsam Tat Arada Vishuddhyati. Anyone else? Daridrasyeva Yujyante Sadhava Samadarshina Sadvishinotitam Tarsham Tat Arada Vishuddhyati. Anybody else? Daridrasyeva Yujyante Sadhava Samadarshina Sadvishinotitam Tarsham Tat Arada Vishuddhyati. One last. Daridrasyeva Yujyante Sadhava Samadarshina Sadvishinotitam Tarsham Tat Arada Vishuddhyati. Daridrasya, a person who is poverty stricken. Eva, indeed. Yujyante, may easily associate. Sadhava, saintly persons. Samadarshina, although sadhus are equal to everyone, to the poor and the rich, the poor man can take advantage of their association. Shall be by the association of such saintly persons. Shinoti, reduces. Tam, the original cause of material suffering. Tarsham, the desire for material enjoyment. Tata, thereafter. Arat, very soon. Vishuddhati, his material contamination is cleansed off. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Saintly persons may freely associate with those who are poverty-stricken, but not with those who are rich. A poverty-stricken man, by association with saintly persons, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and the dirty things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. Purport. Would anybody like to read the purport? Okay, Prabhu.
It is said, Mahat Vicharam Yetnam the only witness of a saintly person or sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, is to preach Krishna consciousness. Sadhus, saintly persons want to preach to poor and the rich, but the poor take more advantage of the sadhus preaching than they preach to. Poor
Please, Prabhu, continue. Yes.
If one gets the advantage of it, if one gets the advantage of association with saintly persons by their instructions, one becomes more and more purified of material desires.
Krishna Mukaya Bhoga Vanja Kare Nikitasta Maya Thare Jaya Japatiya Dhare.
Material life means that one forgets Krishna and that one increases in one's desire for sense gratification. But if one receives the advantage of instructions from saintly persons and forgets the importance of material desires, one is automatically purified. Cheta Darpanam Bandhanam Bhavamaha Davaki Devakam. Unless the core of materialistic person's heart is purified, he cannot get rid of the pangs of Bhav, Mahat, Davaki, the blazing fire of material existence.
Transcendental Purport Ki. Before we get into discussing this purport, I'll just share a little story of the same Sankirtan leader that I was talking about earlier, who was on a book distribution thing and where someone called him a beggar. It's the same Sankirtan person, book distributor. So next day what happened in his life was, two boys approached him. Their names was Reese and Leo. So two boys approached them and said, "Can I have a copy of Bhagavad Gita?" So the book distributor said, "Yes, surely, please." And then he noticed that Leo was holding a copy of another book, Srila Prabhupada's another book. So he was curious. He asked, "Where did you get that copy of book from?" And then that person said, outside so-and-so street last week. So he knew that we had a few devotees on that street as well last week, so he must have gotten that book from them. So Reese took that book of Bhagavad Gita and he had little money. So whatever money he had, he placed it in the hand of the devotee and he said, "I don't know if this is enough to cover the cost of your book, because that was hardly anything, but this is all I have." And then he explained to him that I am homeless. So this is all the collections I've made in the past 1 week. So I waited for 1 week, made that collection, I'm offering you that collection and I'm getting this book of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm homeless. So the book distributor inquired, "What happened? Like, how did you reach to that condition of becoming homeless?" So Reese said, they both were extremely wealthy. However, they gotten into wrong association and tragically had lost all their money, homes and flashcards. They lost everything because of the wrong association they had. And now they were homeless. So while this talk was going on, Leo, the other person's eyes were on Srīmad Bhāgavatam continuously. He was looking at Srīmad Bhāgavatam. So the book distributor was so moved by the story of them that he gave them Bhagavad Gita, he gave them Srīmad Bhāgavatam, he gave them chant and be happy, and then said, "Can I click a picture with you?" And he said, "Sure." So they clicked the picture together and then Leo and Reese came, checked out if the picture was correct, if they're smiling correctly. So they did that perfectly. And so this particular story I thought very well sums up what we are talking about. How an association with a saintly person, whom are we associating with in this case? Srila Prabhupada himself, through books. Through that association we can see how life of Leo and Reese is changing. How they had more and more questions because they were stuck in that condition of life. So sometimes when this material opulences go away, we become open to spirituality. Right? Back during COVID times, we started a Bhagavad Gita sessions with my family back in India. I have two of my aunts. One is very materially opulent. One is not opulent at all. Right? So we all started. We all, obviously it's a family. We all love each other. We started this. By the time COVID ended, the materially opulent aunt drifted away. Right? Because she got back to her routine. My uncle got back into the routine of his life. There was work, this, that. My aunt, the other aunt, who is not so materially opulent, she still continues her classes with Mataji. She's still continuing studying those classes, and now they are finishing up Bhagavad Gita and they're getting on to another book. So again, it shows that when we are sometimes not materially so opulent, then we have nowhere else to go. We rely on God for everything. So that sometimes those conditions help us to bring us closer to Krishna. One might say on the outside, who is more materially opulent, but who is spiritually more opulent? Right? So this story of Reese and Leo really touched me, and it very well summed up of what we were talking about. Right? Because what happens with the materially opulent people is, text 2 of Nectar of Instruction, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha lolyamcha sadvir bhaktir vinashyati. So what is Atyahara? Overcollection of wealth. Prayasascha, over-endeavoring. Prajalpo, idle talking something that is not necessary, more talking. Niyamagra, following rules and regulations, not based on the scriptural injunctions. Jana Sangas, association of worldly minded people. Lolincha, extreme greediness in yourself. Sadbir Bhakti Vinashyati, destroys our bhakti. So all these 6 things destroy our bhakti. These are things we must avoid. But these are exactly the 6 things that materialists associate with. Right? They want more and more. They will talk things that are not necessary, associate with worldly minded people. Whereas, as devotees, you are meant to be avoiding those things. Right? So that is the problem with rich people. Hence, it becomes very hard. It's not like they're bad-hearted people. It's just the situation makes it very hard for them to accept and open up. Right? There is this beautiful pastime of Prataparudra Maharaj, who was the king of Orissa. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was the king of Orissa. Though he was the king, he was a very advanced devotee. He was a very advanced devotee, so much that, we sweep the floor in front of Jagannath cart. He used to do that. He's the one who started it. So he used to sweep the floor in front of Jagannath. Throughout the Jagannath Yatra, that's what he used to do, clean up everything. Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see him doing that. Right? And he was very, very pleased with what the king was doing. So, and the king really wanted to meet Mahaprabhu. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya went and told Mahaprabhu that, king really wants to meet you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what do you think he must have said?
Welcome him.
Sorry?
Welcome him.
That's what you would have thought, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I cannot meet a king. Right? A king, though a king, he is like a black serpent. So a snake anywhere is a snake. So he said, no, I'm not going to meet him. Now when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya went and told, I'm not getting into the details of the story, but the pastime, but just a little bit. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot give him darshan, he got, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thinks that even association with a wooden statue of a lady can attract a muni. So even associating with a rich man can destroy your consciousness. When he heard that, he got really upset. He said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has promised to liberate the entire world, to give Krishna Prem to everyone. He is distributing that freely to everyone, and I am the only exception. It is better for me. If he doesn't want to, if he is determined not to see me, I am determined to give up my life because he doesn't want to see me. And he said, I am going to give up my children, I am going to give up my kingdom, I am going to give up everything, I am going to give up my life. That's it. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, pacified the king, hold on, killing yourself is not the solution to this. Don't hurry into anything, just wait. So when the Jagannath Yatra next time takes place, when the Jagannath cart goes away, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a habit, he gets into this mood of separation. He goes on to the garden, I think the garden is called Jagannath, Gundicha garden. He enters Gundicha garden, and there he meditates and he gets into the mood of, he meditates on Krishna and Krishna. That time, what you do is, you dress up simply and go and meet him. There will be no one. So the king said, okay, let's give it a try. So Jagannath Yatra happened. Now look at this, when Jagannath Yatra was happening, the different harinams were taking place at 7 places, led by different senior acharyas like Haridas Thakur, Nityanand Prabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, different people. Now they all were dancing in ecstasy, and the king could see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at every Harinam. So that's when the king realized Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna. He's Krishna himself, because he could see Krishna everywhere. So that was the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into the mood of Radharani. And he started missing Krishna. And he went to the garden. Like everyone else was saying, he went there. Now as he went there, the king took the permission of different acharyas. He dressed up, there was a great acharya, Nityanand Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, Pundarika Vidyanidhi. He took permission of everybody. He dressed up simply and he said, okay, I'm going to go. So he went to the garden and he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seated under a tree. He was crying, where is my Pranath? Where is Krishna? So then what happened? After this, the king had received one little advice. The advice was, when you go there, start singing Gopi Geet. The moment you sing Gopi Geet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just melts. So when the king went there, the king started singing Gopi Geet. Right? Jayati te dikam janmana vraja shayatha indira sasavatatri daita drishyatam dikshu tavakas tvai vistasavas tvam vichindate. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the Gopi Geet being sung, he said, who is giving such sweet nectar to my ears? Please go on, please go on. So the king continued singing and he sang the entire Gopi Geet. And then Mahaprabhu could not control himself. He embraced the king and he said, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And the king said, I am the das of the das of the das of your das. So I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of your servant. Mahaprabhu was very satisfied and he said, I am a street beggar. I am a Nikinchanat sannyasi, Nishkinchanat sannyasi. I have nothing to give you. But I am so satisfied with you. I have no pockets, nothing to give you. All I can give you is an embrace. That's the only thing I have you. And then he embraced the king. So in that embrace, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered the king. Right? He empowered the king. And then all the shlokas of Gopi Geets were sung. So even when we have money, our real position is of a das, so servant of the servant of the servant of your servant. That is our real position. Right? Now you might say that is all fine. But then we saw Radhanath Swami at Dhirubhai Ambani's wedding. He is not poor. He is a rich man. He went there and he is a saint. He went there, right? Then we see different people who are elevated right now. Jai Shetty, right? Ghanshyam Das. We see Jai Shetty associating with Will Smith. Will Smith is not poor. He associates with rich people, rich person. George Harrison was not poor. Srila Prabhupada wanted to associate with him. So then how do we reconcile everything together? It says in the verse that saintly people only associate with poor people. But then all these are rich people and we see saints associating with them. So how do we reconcile? Because the richness is not always bad. Right? It is about giving association and taking association, and that's an important point to remember. Giving association and taking association. When we see these saints going to these different places, they are giving their association. They don't take association. Right? And when they meet their God family, then they take association with them. Right? They take association of Srila Prabhupada's books. That's where they take association. Nitai Sevani Mataji, there was a video that came up on my Facebook the other day. It was very interesting. She was talking about giving association and taking association. And she spoke about a Greek king who tried to conduct an experiment on human touch. So what he did was he kept a little infant baby, a newborn baby, in a room, empty room, that had all the facilities, everything. So he was a very cruel Greek king, okay? I'll just warn you. He kept the little baby with all the facilities but with no human touch. What do you think must have happened to the baby? The baby died. The baby died in 2 weeks. So next now he said, okay, let me see what happens with human touch. So with another newborn baby, he kept 20 mothers in there the better room was empty, no facility, but 20 mothers were in there. And all the mothers were trying to take care of the baby, kissing him and doing different things, feeding him, taking care of everything. What do you think must have happened to the baby? The baby died in 1 week. The baby died in 1 week. So when there was no human touch, only the facilities, baby died in 2 weeks. When there was too much human touch, baby died in 1 week. So then Mataji was relating that to how too much of anything also goes bad. So when, as devotees, when we are preaching and associating with new people or associating with the newcomers, we have to be very careful of how much are we associating. There has to be a balance. So when we are associating with those new people as well, we have to give association, talk about Krishna. And when we are associating with senior devotees, that time we take their association, we listen to them, we take their instructions. But there needs to be balance. The requirement depends, it varies for each person. But it needs to be balanced. Nothing in excess is good. That's what she was trying to get to. Giving association and taking association. So it is all about protecting our consciousness. So whatever helps in protecting our consciousness, in uplifting our consciousness, that is inspired, that is required. So if we get inspiration from the association, we must take that association. But if we have to give too much of our energy into something, then we have to draw lines somewhere. Yes, we have to nurture them, but we have to also draw lines somewhere. Otherwise it becomes too much and then we might go down in our practices as well. Like Leo and Grace, right? They went totally down. Not in their spiritual practice, but materially they went completely down. Is it okay if I go on for 5-10 moments? Is that okay? So in the purport, we can see Srila Prabhupada, especially a Bhāgavatam verse has been quoted from Canto 3. Now I wanted to read the translation of that particular purport and how Srila Prabhupada is trying to connect that purport to this particular aspect of poverty-stricken. It says, in the association of pure devotees, so what happens when we are in association of saintly people? Discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins. So sometimes the moments of association is also very helpful, like in the case of Narada Muni. Like in a lot of, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they got one moment of association and they were uplifted, elevated. So even that is enough. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on to quote something from Prema Vivarta. So Prema Vivarta, if we translate this as a Sanskrit word, it means transformations of love. It's a book, beautiful book written by Jagadananda Pandit. So he is a personal associate of, confidential associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he wrote that book. And that book, how did he get, this beautiful thing, how did he get to writing that book? So Swarup Damodar told him, oh Pandit, what are you writing? So he was writing something. What are you writing? So Jagadananda Pandit replied, I am writing about whom I love. So Swarup Damodar said, then write about the pastimes of the Lord that the world will be greatly benefited from after reading. So then Jagadananda Pandit replied, I don't know what is beneficial for the world. I simply write whatever I like. So then Swarup Damodar left, considering, he says it's in his own words, he said, considering me mad, he just left. Sitting alone, I write, meditating on the Lord. My mind cries, my heart cries, my eyes cry, and whenever something comes to mind, I write it down. So those particular lines are taken from that book. Book from a senior personality whose mind is crying, whose heart is crying, whose eyes are crying. And he is writing in those, so it's an emotional ecstasy. So it's an ecstasy. Now, those particular lines mean, since we wanted to enjoy apart from Krishna's Leela, which is Krishna Bahirmukha Haya Bhoga Vancha Kare, we are given a chance here to try out our own Leela with Maya, with the help of Maya, making an illusionary wonderland, which is Nikatastha Maya Tare. But sooner or later we are slapped by Maya and we are awakened to reality. Japatiya Dhare. And that is the end of our Leela. Of our Maya, our Leela with Maya. So sorry, I'm going to skip a few things. I'll come to the conclusion now. So the association of these saintly people is very, very important. And there are many examples, if we look at them, how association brings a transformation of heart. Right? We have our own spiritual master. Association with them through their books, through their words, instruction is very important. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to take prasadam, his then personal servant Govinda used to eat after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to eat. One time what happened is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate and he slept on the doorway, like just at the doorway, right? So Govinda, his personal servant he did not want to cross over Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get his own food. So what he did was he did not eat, but he crossed over him, he sat down and then he started massaging his feet as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sleeping. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu woke up, he said, have you eaten anything, Govinda? He said, no, because I didn't want to cross over you. But he said, but you crossed over me to massage my feet. But he said, I crossed over you to serve you. But if I would have crossed over you to take prasadam, then I'm serving myself. So he was serving his guru. Right? And he was associating with his guru through service. So we will always find association of these saints in our services. My Guru Maharaj would always say this. When he left, he said, you will always find me when you're serving, when you're doing your services. And that is true. We will always find Srila Prabhupada when we are serving him. We will always be in his association if we are serving him with the correct mood. We will never lose his association. Right? So, there's another last pastime and then I'll finish up, I promise. But I have to share this one. It's a beautiful pastime of Loknath Goswami. When Loknath Goswami said he did not want to initiate anybody. So he did not want to initiate Narottam Das Thakur. And he did not give any service to Narottam Das Thakur. So Loknath Goswami, what he used to do is at night, at around 2 o'clock at night, he used to wake up for his morning sadhana. But before that, you have to answer nature's call. So he would sit out there, answer that, freshen up, and then start chanting. Now, Narottam Das Thakur, he found a service. He used to clean up all the stool that was left behind. He used to clean that up every 2 o'clock every morning. Then Loknath Goswami started thinking, I go to the same place every day. Who is cleaning up? I don't see any remnants. Anything left, not remnants, nothing left. Who is cleaning up? Then he said, okay, let me try. One morning I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm going to check who is doing this. So 2 a.m. he freshened up and he's now peeping through the place. Who is doing this? And he saw this dark shadow doing something. Then he opened up, he came out. And he said, who is there? Who is there? He started yelling, why are you doing 2 a.m. It's really dark. He said, why are you doing this? Who is it? And he said, Gurudev, it's me, Narottam. So Loknath Swami began to see him and began to cry. He cried out loudly, Narottam, Narottam, why are you doing this? You come from such a royal family. So here is Narottam Das Thakur coming from a very royal, opulent family. And he is doing that. Which again shows us who is, you have to be spiritually rich. Right? Material richness is there, but spiritual richness is most important. So he's saying, why are you doing this? You come from a royal family. You are the prince, meant to be a king. You are meant to be living with the fine silks and fine food, with many servants, doing anything at your beck and call. Why are you doing this? Narottam, with tears welling in his eyes, spoke from the core of his heart. And he said, my dear Gurudev, I left behind all the insignificant things of this world to attain the most precious, valuable treasure of all treasures, the opportunity to perform this menial service. So he left everything behind. And this is my treasure, this is my wealth. So when Loknath Goswami heard this, his heart melted. He said, Narottam, you have conquered my heart. Come with me, I will initiate you. And then immediately he got his initiation. So with that humble service, humble mood, he conquered Krishna. It's a month where Krishna gets conquered by us. Right? Where we can bind Krishna. But I really like the prayer that Sakhirai Prabhu had mentioned the other day. It's a month where we go, when we offer the lamb, we can pray to Damodar and Yashodamai, Radharani, that you please bind me. Instead of we trying to bind him, first you please bind me in your love. Because we falter. We falter all the time. Right? We falter all the time. Just imagine if the nature is very beautiful. Say example, you're in New Zealand. If it outside it's very beautiful. You look at nature and you say, oh wow, it's so beautiful. It goes on for 2 minutes, so it's amazing. Look at that, look at that, look at those mountains. It goes on for 15 minutes. Then you say every now and then, look, there it's still the same. It goes on for 1 hour. You get bored of it, isn't it? We get bored of the beauty of the nature after half an hour. But do gopis get bored of the beauty of Lord Krishna? They don't get bored of the beauty of Lord Krishna. We get bored of the nature which is right in front of us after 2 minutes. Such is our mind. Such is our mind. That we get bored of things too easily. So we need to really pray to Krishna to bind us into his love. So that we never should, when we look at Krishna, we should be able to look at him for a long time. Not for a quick darshan and we walk out. Oh, I've seen him, okay, done this, that, walk away. No, sometimes we should get into the mood, or when we look at him, we admire what's happening. When we are alone, at home, look at pictures. That's why we hang pictures around our walls. So look at Radha and Krishna just, right in our hall. So beautiful. Let's admire them. Let's not get drifted away. There's so much more that can be said on this verse, but I'm going to end over here because I think everyone must be hungry for breakfast. So I'm going to end over here, but just on the concluding point, association works, saintly association works, but making it work is our responsibility. Because when someone knocks on the door, it's not like the luck, how is it said, luck knocks on the door only once. So one time, someone knocked on the door twice. He said, who is it? He said, luck. The person said, you are lying. He said, what makes you think that? Because luck never knocks twice. That's why you are lying. But Krishna comes on our doorstep again and again and again, and he knocks again and again and again. It's our responsibility now to take Krishna, transform it, take Krishna in. That's our responsibility. Even we will have to do something. Right? So with those little words, we'll end today's session. Thank you so much. Sorry I went on for a little bit longer. I could have said a lot more. I'm just going to stop there. If you have any questions, comments, corrections, please feel free to share if you have anything else to say.
Prashadam is after the Harinam today.
Oh yeah, there is Harinam at Mangavat Markets. We spoke about book distribution today. We must go for book distribution. Then Prashadam. Anything else? Anybody else would like to share anything? No? Thank you so much. Grantraj Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, class.
I was sweating.
Very beautiful.